What are some tips that you can provide students on how to stand out in recruiting, whether they're applying for a summer internship or a full-time job offer?
Standing out, I'm asked that question a lot. And you have to put yourself and see yourself from the eyes of the person who's interviewing you, who's screening you. The best advice I can give is you have to understand, the student needs to understand what the firm is looking for. And it's not necessarily an accountant by narrow definition. They're looking for a talent, not an accountant. And one of the things that students may not clearly understand is that their whole life, they've been developing the skills that a successful professional needs in order to be successful. And that means strong communication skills. Now, what does that mean? Taking something that's complex and explaining it to someone who has half your education, twice your education, another generation to another, or who's from another culture, and making it simplified. That they demonstrate empathy, that they are a good listener, and they put themselves in the shoes of the other person. That they're highly motivated, that whether it's a simple or complex job or task, they give it all they got. That if they have an idea, that they can take that idea, develop a plan to implement it, get the resources to implement it, and hopefully it creates value once it's implemented. Now, we're not talking about being Van Gogh or Leonardo da Vinci, but certainly, if you think about it, Ming, every one of us has an idea, simple or complex, that we made work for us. So you're talking about innovation, you're talking about leadership, communication, teamwork, team building. My point is, I think a lot of students get caught up into, I don't have any business or accounting experience. That's not necessarily what they're looking for. They're looking for the skills, the underlying skills of talent. And let me give you an example. Michael Eisner, along with a good friend of mine, they were both camp counselors in their teens and maybe in their very early 20s while they were in high school and college. Both individuals had said that it was the best leadership training they had ever had, and that included graduate school. Now think about a camp counselor. We're not saying that this is an accounting, audit, or tax intern. Think about what a camp counselor does. They have to communicate with individuals who are a lot younger, from different cultures, have different ideas about why they're at camp. They have to teach. They might be instructing in canoeing or some type of outdoor activity. They have to be risk managers. They have to keep the campers safe. They have to plan and organize. Now, let's take away the title of camp counselor. What other activity gives you that much of a rich training experience? But it's not necessarily an accounting internship. My point is, you have to look at the skills that you're developing in the context of the experience that you've had. Whether it's a camp counselor, that you're working as an aide at church, that you're working in some type of recreational activity. I was a crewman and a captain of a tuna boat in my youth. And I learned all those similar skills of teaching, life-saving, emergency preparedness, working with other people. Okay? mechanics, being organized, working long, long hours. And so if individuals can be self-reflective on not necessarily the major activities as they would define it, but those activities, simple, complex, that they spent a long time at or short time at, that taught them the most important skills that they possess. And whether they learned them in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, at work, church, at play, it doesn't matter. Being able to be self-aware, reflective, and understand with each activity you're engaged in, formal or informal, paid or unpaid, what did it teach you insofar as the skills you have today? If you can articulate that, okay, you're going to stand out to a recruiter. The other thing I would say is, as a young, let's say a freshman, I've coined the phrase, be intentionally social. Do 3 things. Meet with your friends and partake in planning activities with them. If you're going to join a club, and I'm a big advocate of joining one or more of the hundreds of organizations sponsored by a campus. And since we're in the world of accounting, if you can join Beta Alpha Psi, join it, the accounting association or society on campus. But don't be just a dues-paying member. If you can, be involved. You don't have to be an officer. You can be involved in planning the activity, be a chairperson, or be an officer. But be involved in improving the club, taking the club forward, or taking an activity forward. Be involved in the decision-making and execution of activities. And then lastly, meet up and talk to your professors. All these things, talk to your professors about what's happening in class, things that you may not understand. Learn to engage with someone that is more learned, certainly probably older than you are, that might give you an initial sense of intimidation, and break the ice and learn to have a conversation with them. So it gives you an idea of what I mean by intentional socialization. All of these things have a purpose, Ming, and if you are a freshman, that is a great place to start. They always talk about you need to network, right? But very few people explain to you how to network. Intentional socialization, that is a way to start networking and build the skills that you need to have to stand out in front of a recruiter.